Well, border restrictions by the state governments in response to the ongoing clusters in New South Wales will continue to impact our tourism and aviation sectors. Australians will spend almost $3 billion less than the annual average, as some businesses already teeter on the edge. For more on this, I spoke with Tourism and Transport Forum CEO Margy Osmond. Margy Osmond, can it get any worse for Australia's tourism industry with border closures at peak season?
Well, to be perfectly frank, yes, it can if we don't get some certainty into the system, because the worst thing for all of us is a complete lack of confidence in the travelling public. We need to re-establish that confidence, or this is going to go on, and we'll be lucky to have a tourism industry in 12 months' time.
I saw some statistics that were very alarming in that is the figure of about 113,000 jobs lost in 1 year accurate? Is that in the ballpark? And secondly, a move to casualisation of work rather than more tenured work. That seems to be a trend. What's your estimate of the exact loss?
Oh, look, I think the job losses are much higher than that. When you look at the sort of wider extension of the industry, I'd put them infinitely higher, probably up in the 300,000s. And I think that the problem for us is if we look at this period over the next few weeks, for example, from the 24th of December through to about the 11th of January, when everybody goes back to work with a woeful expression, that would normally mean about $5.5 billion for the industry in that period. We calculate that this border closure and the behaviours around it will mean a $3 billion slice off the edge of that. So tourism will make less than half of what it would normally make in its biggest season of the year in the time when it needs it most.
So, Margy, is the train smash coming when federal support for jobs and businesses dries up? Like, is the tourism sector expecting to hit that cliff when the federal support dries up?
Well, I actually think the train smash has already happened. What we're looking at the end of March is apocalypse. I think that, there's been a lot of support from government. They kind of understand what's happening with tourism, but I don't think they've fully grasped the fact that we're on a 4 to 5 year recovery trajectory if we're lucky. But over the next 2 years, if we're not supported in a way that we have to be, with whatever version of JobKeeper it is, we're uniquely the most affected industry, and we simply can't recover if we have international borders closed, and we can't survive if there isn't some certainty around border triggers and closures.
Are you getting a sense that the government has grasped the extent of your problem? Are you getting any messages that suggest they might do an industry-specific support package, or have you considered, for instance, taking your own challenge to the High Court to have a look at this border issue? Because I know Clive Palmer failed, but I'm told by constitutional lawyers of some standing that his case had been very poorly argued.
Well, look, I think in the first instance, before we were to take any pathway like that, we need to work with the government. The Prime Minister on any number of occasions has tried to herd the cats on this issue of what needs to be done with the borders. I think it's now extremely urgent that National Cabinet has another go at tackling this. I would say to you, though, that the new Minister, Dan Tehan, has clearly grasped the fact that he needs to talk to the industry and do it quickly. We have our first meeting with him next week, and I give him, serious points for focusing on what's a very important issue when he has a whole lot of important issues on his desk.
Margy, I assume that there might have been a few businesses just starting to see green shoots of recovery, and they've now had to refund deposits or refund cancellation fees and so on for this peak season. Is that a factor, or have I overestimated the fact that Australians were ready to travel at Christmas?
Oh no, Australians were very ready to travel at Christmas, but for the reasons they normally travel at Christmas, which is visiting friends and family. So this sort of initial period, probably up to the 24th, 25th, is usually the visiting friends and family stage. So some money flows into the industry via aviation, maybe a little bit of accommodation, restaurant catering, that sort of thing. But the leisure market usually happens in January, February, and that's where we're going to feel the serious pain. There's no getting away from it. This is an absolute debacle.
In relative terms, which is your priority? Is it reopening of the international travel border or opening up the states so that Australians can take holidays, say, at the Golden Sunshine Coasts or get into Western Australia or go to the Territory, go to the Outback? If you had to pick one rather than the other, which would it be?
Well, as I said, the industry can't get back to anything near what it was before without international borders open, but we can't even survive if we don't have some certainty around the domestic. So in the first instance, it's not as simple as just the borders opening. We need certainty going forward that if X happens, that is the response that all governments will make to that situation. Not all of them going off in their own, private world of Frank Sinatra and, I did it my way. It now has to be some sort of centralised process so that both the industry and the travellers have got some sense of certainty, because if that confidence collapses, well, people will just stay at home.
And the sort of arguments about see New South Wales first or try to get to an Australian tourist destination, is that resonating at all, or is that any comfort to the industry, or are we missing the point there?
Oh, no, look, I think it was starting to resonate, actually. And I think that traditionally when people go overseas, they're looking for a new or unique experience. So there was a lot of activity and innovation going on within the industry to either promote or develop new and innovative experiences. And the destination agencies in every state working with Tourism Australia, I think we're doing very good work. Well, of course, they've all had the slap in the face with a wet fish with this situation at the moment. Yes, is the short answer. I do think Australians were beginning to embrace the opportunities within their own country. I mean, everybody wanted to go to the Northern Territory. How many Australians normally go there? Well, not nearly enough. The Coorong in South Australia, fabulous, wonderful. Places in far north Queensland, great places far out west. How many people do you know who've actually been to the sculpture park at Broken Hill? There's a whole lot of things to be doing. And we know that Australians were starting to warm to the idea.
Well, Margy, best luck next week with Dan Tehan. I certainly found him a very receptive, responsive minister in the Veterans Affairs portfolio. I'm sure you'll get a decent hearing there, but I'm sure I also speak for a lot of Australians in hoping that pretty soon we can start to cross borders and get some respite, because as well as your industry suffering, I think your clients and customers are suffering too, along with the businesses, because people are cooked from being confined to very narrow spaces around home. So good luck with working over the break, and I hope you get a rest in the near future as well. Merry Christmas.
Well, look, thank you so much. And look, you're right. It is the human factor that's the most important thing in this, whether it's the health priority, which we absolutely agree with, or whether it's the visiting friends and family piece. I mean, was there anything more special than all those Love Actually scenes at the airports when the borders first opened? So let's hope for a happy new year. And I wish you and yours a lovely and safe Christmas too.
And back at you, Margy. It's been far too long. I hope we speak again next year and with better news. Good luck. Best for 2021.
Thank you so much. Take care.